Marion Camp is a 78-year-old grandmother and lifelong resident whose house was devastated by Hurricane Katrina. Then, to make matters worse, she was swindled by the contractor she'd hired to repair her house.
And that's why in September of 2006, Paul Davis Restoration went to New Orleans to build Marion Camp a brand new home.
If I want to say the truth about my life, it's been hell.
This is a tremendous rescue. It's a sensational rescue.
For someone who's been out of a home for a year.
We teamed up with DIY Network, Dr. Phil McGraw, and the host of DIY to the Rescue to rebuild Marion's house from the ground up.
Oh, God! Goodness gracious!
It's been a well-documented disaster. On August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina hits the Louisiana coast with 140-mile-an-hour winds.
More than 1,800 people died.
Marion Camp. She's a widowed grandmother of 7, great-grandmother of 3. She spends much of her time caring for her teenage grandson, Will, who's been diagnosed with an autistic disorder. Marion was born and raised in New Orleans and had lived in this house for almost 40 years. After the storm passed, Marion returned to her house on Johnson Street. Her home was in shambles.
Everything was torn upside down, and I walked through the house, and everything was a mess. I couldn't live in it. It was impossible.
It shifted completely. And in fact, I mean, some of the walls you can really see where it's separated. The structural part of the wall has separated.
We saw the condition back here, and we also saw that the house is not restorable. It needs to be taken down, needs to be rebuilt.
The house will need to be torn down, but Paul Davis contractor Howdy Russell wants to make sure the exterior is replicated authentically.
The front of the houses, they have, sometimes they have scroll sawed brackets at the top, and we're going to incorporate that. The house will look, from the outside, it's going to look exactly like the house looked before. What New Orleans needs is they need that hope, that expectation that things are restorable, that you can build it. And so that's what we're aiming to do here, is to set this house back up. Yep. It's going to look like the same house it was before, and it's going to give them the hope that let's do this again, let's do it again, and let's do it again.
Miriam watches as the house she lived in for decades is destroyed. In a matter of hours, the demolition is complete.
Well, you know, I mean, what you did with your patience and your diligence and your contact with Dr. Phil has allowed you at this point now, you're going to get a brand new house.
To rebuild Marion's house to the specifications and the time frame needed, DIY needed the help of the #1 remodeling contractor in the U.S., Paul Davis Restoration. No one else could line up all the labor, resources, and materials needed.
We've been here since the storm, since Katrina, and this community, a year later, is still in tremendous need of assistance. And it's an opportunity for us to come here and make a difference for someone. That's an important thing for us to do as a company. It's about rebuilding lives.
They are a very critical part of the community at this point, because you can't rebuild without people who know how to build.
We have such a great crew, a lot of the people that are from New Orleans, and it just makes me proud of being a contractor.
Well, I've been down here for a year and 10 days. I came down with Paul Davis 1 week after Katrina made landfall, and I've been here ever since. I mean, if you have good people to work with you, everything flows.
People say, well, why don't they just pick up and rebuild for themselves? Well, they may not have the resources. That's why we're here. That's why we need to be here.
And Howdy Russell from Paul Davis Restoration. These men and their crew helped to build your house. We're all here to welcome you home.
Thank you guys. I thought that we were in our own house. We were in Hollywood. This is my house? I was expecting something that would look decent, but not this. It's just my house.
Marion walked through her house in shock and amazement, enjoying the sight of every room and fixture.
What an incredible project. I mean, it was amazing to see the look on her face. It was a lot of work, but we are so proud of what we did and what we accomplished. And seeing the look on her face was worth all the effort.
It's like being in a movie and seeing yourself as Cinderella, and I'm a little too old for that. I'm Cinderella anyway.
Well, what do you think of your house?
I'm still pinching myself.
I can't say enough about Paul Davis Restoration. I mean, these guys just stepped up in a major way.
Well, we're a company that's built on values, and we do transform lives every day. In this instance of working with Marion, it really takes it to a different level. And it makes us very proud to say we're a part of Paul Davis Restoration, a part of the community of 220 offices that can bring together something like this and make it happen and transform the life of someone who is very deserving.
I think my house looks better than any house in New Orleans. That's the way I feel. And I just thank you so much.